I really hate reading magic books. It's not because like of anything personal, right? I like reading books in general, but I just hate reading magic books. It's just that there's two factors that I think make it really hard for me to learn from magic books. The main reason why I think that magic books are really hard to learn from is because of how dense everything is. So if you look at Scarny on cards, for example, you'll see that everything is just text. There's no images. It's just blocks of text after like one after another. So it just makes it extremely hard to read through. I mean, even if there is images, it doesn't really help a lot because of just how like everything is stored within the text. So just having the images isn't enough to get a full picture of everything that you need. And most of the time, these blocks of text are just information. So there's no narrative. It's just reading dry blocks of text from start to end. And so it's extremely hard to read through because it's like reading through a school manual. Have you read through a school manual in one sitting? Yeah, it's pretty much impossible. I mean, I won't blame you if you did, but you know, it's just extremely difficult to do. I think a lot of people have gotten spoiled watching through magic tutorial videos because of just how easy and accessible the information is. I mean, compared to magic books, here you can see the person, you can also hear the person. So there's sort of like, it's way easier to absorb the information because you can see the thing that they're describing happening in real time. Versus something in a magic book, you have to actually decrypt the text and then actually try and find a reference if the author was kind enough to provide one. But a lot of the information in magic books is far more valuable than you think, right? I mean, if we take a look on Scarny on cards, there's so much information there that just most people don't read through and that can't transfer out on video. But obviously, Scarny on cards, obviously people have done work on it, but you know, that's not the point, right? But the point of this video is to break down my process, my process of reading through a magic book because of how dense they are. So these are just guidelines for you to help you read through magic books. It doesn't have to be what you use to read through magic books, but you know, these are just steps that I use to, you know, help me through the dry text walls. So yeah, so let's get down to it. The very first step that I find that helps me reading through magic book is not even like reading through the book from start to end. I mean, that's practically impossible, as I said before, but it's just finding things that I want to learn and just reading through those sections. So finding things that interest me and then reading through them, I think that helps me retain my attention a lot longer. So for example, you can look through the summary and find what you want to learn first and then go to that section. Or you can go on a site like Conjuring Archive where it describes the thing that you want to read, and then you could see like what piques your interest, and then you could go ahead and read that up. And obviously, I think that a lot of you would be like, oh, but then you're wasting a lot of the book because you're not going to read the other sections. But you never know when you might reread it. Sometimes I pick another book up, and then after I'm done learning from that section, I'm done doing whatever I'm done with it, then I just, you know, put the book down, let it rest, and sometimes I might revisit it to search up new moves or new references, new tricks, and then, you know, it's a repeating cycle. I learn new things, and then I put it down, and then I learn another thing, and then I put it down, right? So it's just, you know, I think that's a far healthier way and far easier way to digest the information versus just sitting through in one sitting. You won't retain anything. You just sit through and just read through so many blocks of information. You have to like have some sort of motivation to learn through it. So that's my motivation of learning through it, right? Just finding something that interests me and then learning it, and then, you know, letting it sit, learning something else, and then letting it sit, and blah blah blah, right? Repeat and rinse. So, you know, that's my first step on how I read through magic. The second thing that I do to read through a magic book is that I actually don't sort of read through it. So you might notice that I actually have a lot of notebooks over there, and these notebooks actually help me on multiple occasions. One is obviously to note down my own ideas, but also to break down the ideas that are in books. So how I actually write down notes in my magic notes are in bullet form. So in this way, I can actually get across the main information of the move or of the thing that I'm trying to describe without using too much space. I think that generally I would understand it. Well, obviously I understand it, but it makes it a lot more easy to digest versus having these giant walls of text versus if it was in bullet form. So I write down what's described in the book in bullet form, so then it's easier for me to understand. So when you reread these notes, it's going to be a lot easier for you to understand because you rewrote it. So you know, you sort of already have an underlying understanding of what's going on, but also it's a lot easier for you to digest what's going on because it's in bullet point form. So it's going to be a lot easier for you to, you know, just read through it and then just find, you know, what the problem is or whatever. But obviously sometimes there's just bad transcription, so sometimes you might learn something else, but you know, that's a risk that happens with anything. But a lot of things with magic books is that they're sort of like open-ended, I want to say. If we look at Shane Cobalt's Erdnase Bottom Deal grip, you'll see that it is different from what is currently accepted as an Erdnase Bottom Deal grip. And that is because books are sort of open-ended and it can be interpreted in a variety of ways. So even if you note down like something that's like somewhat different, I think that people will still, you know, understand that's that idea, as long as you don't change it around too much. So you know, it's you know, magic notes in bullet point form. That's my second tip for you. And so yeah, I just think that it's a good habit to get into, just noting down your ideas and just breaking down steps, because you know, in the long run you'll forget a lot of the things that you created or that you improved on. So you know, having that is a sort of a journal, magic journal, documenting what you learned and what you improved over the years. So you know, it's a good habit. And the last thing isn't as easily accessible as the other two, but it's just basically finding performances of what is described in the book. It's going to be hard for certain things because some things people just don't do, but for the most part I think that if a move is interesting enough, then you'll be able to find video performance of it, and that way you'll have a guide on how to perform the move. So for example, if I'm looking at Steve Forte's backshift, I wouldn't know how it was done like in context, right? He just sort of describes how you do it, but because he filmed some nice clips of it and there's some clips of it floating around on Instagram, it's a lot easier to learn because now you suddenly understand like the context that's used around it, how you should use it, and also like, you know, just how it should look. So personally, finding performances of moves helps a lot. So again, sometimes you won't be able to find the clips, but for the most part, you know, I think that you should be able to find it. But even if you don't find it, you still have the two other tips to fall on, so you know, that's the thing. And also, if you do become like the first person to record a clip of it, then yay, you get all the credits, I guess, because now everyone's going to use you as the reference, and you know, that's that's a thing. So you know, and that's about it for all the tips that I have for you. So the first tip is reading through what interests you first. The second tip is transcribing everything that's in the magic book into bullet point form so that you can more easily digest it. The third tip is going to be a bit harder, but it is finding reference clips or performances of the move described in the magic book or the routine. You know, you never know what you might find on the internet. So, and that's about it for this video. I hope that this helps someone out. I know that everyone learns in a sort of different way, but for me, these are the tips that helped me get through magic books, and I hope that these help you as well. So that's about it, and yeah, see you guys next week for another video. See ya. Also, just before I go, if you have any tips that you want to share, then, you know, just don't hesitate to put them down in the comments below. I think that, you know, it's a discussion. I think everyone can learn from each other. So, you know, if you have any tips on reading through a magic book, then, you know, put them down in the comments below. And so, yeah, that's about it. See you guys next video. Yay, I guess.